let's talk about Wole Soyinka's incredible play, Death and the King's Horseman. Now, on the surface, it looks like a story about a sacred ritual that gets violently interrupted by colonial authorities. You might think, oh, I get it, a clash of cultures. But what if I told you the real conflict, the true tragedy, is something else entirely, something much, much deeper?
So let me just start by asking you this. What if the single most honorable thing you could do, the one act that would define your entire life's purpose, was to die at a very specific, chosen moment? For the hero of this story, this isn't just some thought experiment. It's his sacred destiny.
Okay, so meet Elesin. He's the King's Horseman. This guy is larger than life, full of vitality and absolutely adored by his community. But here's the thing. His king has just died, and tradition demands one last incredibly important duty from him. He has to perform a ritual suicide to guide his master's soul into the afterlife. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the sacred duty itself. Then we have to dive into the Yoruba cosmic order to really get what's at stake here. After that, we'll look at the colonial catalyst that just lights the fuse on everything. And finally, we'll get to the author's real point, which, you'll see, goes way beyond a simple clash of cultures. All right, let's start with Elesin and this sacred and deadly duty that he was literally born to perform. And get this isn't just some story Soyinka made up. He actually based it on a real event that happened in Oyo, Nigeria back in 1946. The King's Horseman really was expected to follow his master into death, but it wasn't seen as an ending. It was the ultimate continuation of his service.
This quote from Elesin himself, man, it just says it all. From his perspective, his coming death isn't a tragedy, not at all. It's the absolute peak of his life's purpose. To back out now would mean living a life without honor, and for a man like Elesin, that's just not a life worth living.
Okay, so to really understand why this one ritual is so unbelievably critical, we have to kind of step outside our own modern, Western way of thinking. We need to talk about the Yoruba worldview, their cosmology. You see, in the Yoruba worldview, there isn't this hard, sharp line between life and death like we often think of. The universe is seen as this one unified whole that connects everybody, the living, the dead, and even those who are yet to be born. It's all just one continuous, flowing existence. A great way to picture this is as a single sphere made of two halves. So the bottom half is called Aye, that's the physical world where we are right now. The top half is Arun, and that's the spiritual other world. It's home to the gods, spirits, and all the ancestors. Now, here is the absolute key. The barrier between these two worlds, death itself, it's not a solid wall. It's porous. It's a passageway. And Elesin's whole job is to be the guy who walks through that passage, making sure the king's spirit gets across safely, and in doing so, keeping the entire cosmic order in balance. So you see, this isn't just about following some old custom. No way. This is a cosmic necessity. If Elesin fails, the king's spirit gets stuck between worlds, and that severs the connection between the living and their ancestors. We're talking about the potential for the entire universe to be thrown into complete chaos. The stakes just could not be higher. And now, right into this world of sacred duty and cosmic balance, steps an outsider, someone who sees things very, very differently. This is the British District Officer Simon Pilkings, and he is completely, utterly incapable of grasping this worldview. Where Elesin and his community see a sacred duty, Pilkings just sees a quaint native custom. What is cosmic honor to them is a barbaric act to him. Maintaining balance versus a criminal offense, it's like they're not even living in the same reality. And if you want a perfect example of just how deep this misunderstanding goes, look no further. For a costume party, Pilkins and his wife put on these confiscated Egungun masks. To them, it's just a bit of fun, but these are deeply sacred objects used to connect with ancestral spirits. To the Yoruba people, this isn't just rude, it is profound, unbelievable blasphemy. This quote just perfectly captures Pilkings' entire attitude. He's dismissive, he's arrogant, and he sees absolutely zero value in the beliefs of the people he's supposed to be governing. He just feels it's his duty to enforce his civilized laws, and he doesn't care one bit about the spiritual consequences for everyone else. So, of course, Pilkings takes action. He hears whispers of a ritual murder and completely misinterprets what's really going on. He orders his sergeant to go arrest Elesin. And just as the horseman is entering his final trance, that crucial moment of passage to the other world, the whole ceremony is brought to a violent, grinding halt. Now, this is the point where a simple analysis would probably stop. Tragedy caused by a clash of cultures. Case closed. But the playwright himself, Wole Soyinka, basically yells at us from the pages and says, no, you have to look deeper. It's true. In his own author's note for the play, Soyinka issues a direct warning against taking the easy way out with that interpretation. He says that if you see this as a simple clash of cultures, you are completely missing the entire point of the tragedy. He even calls that interpretation facile, which is just a fancy word for superficial or shallow. He knew that audiences would automatically jump to that conclusion, and he wanted to be crystal clear. That is a fundamental misreading of what he wrote. And here it is. This is the absolute key. Soyinka says Pilkings is not the villain. His intervention is merely, and I quote, a catalytic incident. The officer is the match, sure, but he isn't the bomb. He just happens to be the thing that sets the stage for the real tragedy to explode from within. So if the fight isn't between Elesin and Pilkings, where is it? Well, Soyinka spells it out for us. He says the confrontation is largely metaphysical, contained in the human vehicle, which is Elesin. The true conflict isn't between two men. It's the battle inside Elesin himself, the fight between his spirit and his love for the physical world. Think about it. On his very last night on Earth, Elesin lets himself get distracted. He sees a beautiful young woman and uses his status to marry her, right then and there, just hours before he's supposed to die. This attachment to the world, to earthly pleasure, it fatally weakens his resolve. So when the crucial moment comes, his will just falters. That is the true tragedy. Pilkings' arrival isn't the cause of the failure. It just becomes a convenient excuse for it.
So, at the end of the day, the big takeaway is this. Death in the King's Horseman isn't really a political play about colonialism. It is a profound metaphysical tragedy about one man's very personal failure and how a single moment of weakness can throw an entire universe out of balance.
And really, the play leaves us with this huge question, doesn't it? In our own lives, when we look at conflicts in the world, how often do we just focus on the obvious, external clash, the loud, easy-to-see fight, and completely miss the deeper, quieter, and maybe more important tragedy that's unfolding just beneath the surface?